You've tamed the voices in your head. You've put your courage to the test. Laid all your doubts to rest.
Hi everyone, from your intuition queen to a new episode of Intuitive Queens podcast. Today I have the pleasure to have with me Elyse Santilli, who is a mindset and manifestation coach. Hello Elyse, how are you?
I'm fabulous. I'm really excited to be here.
Thank you. I'm happy to have you here. So just for the people listening, we met at the Beautiful You Coaching Academy Award and we're sitting next to each other. You started telling me your story and I got really interested in how your intuition played a massive part for you in what you do right now. So would you like to tell us what happened?
Yeah, so since I was a child, I always had a feeling that like life is supposed to be magical, right? But then I kind of lost it and I was kind of living half asleep for many years into my 20s. I had like a good on paper life. I was a lawyer, I had a great job and friends and a boyfriend and inside I was so unhappy because I just felt like there must be more and I felt so disconnected from myself. Like the way I describe it is it felt like my life was like an itchy sweater because it just wasn't the right life for me. And I wanted to create a life that felt like a silk dress or like a cute t-shirt.
I love this analogy.
Yeah. And it's so funny because like, as I was thinking about this podcast today, I was like, oh my gosh, I described the moment where I decided like I have to change my life. It's this quote that goes around the internet now that I wrote. It says, she felt something click inside. She suddenly realized she was no longer available for careers, relationships, or thoughts that were not in alignment with her highest expression, desires, and truth. Her worthiness had grown roots, and she was now unshakable in the belief that she was worthy of a life of magic. And she knew that the only person that could give her that was herself. So she put on her crown and got to work. So that was really like the moment where I decided, okay, something's got to change.
Yes, Queen. Yes, absolutely. Oh, I love the quote. I'm going to steal it from. So you said you were a lawyer. And you said on the surface everything looked perfect, but on the inside you weren't happy. So what exactly? How were you coping? What was going on for you? How were you expressing your unhappiness in any kind of way, or were you trying to contain yourself to keep going with this kind of perfect life?
Yeah, that's such a great question. Like a lot of women, I was raised to be like the good girl and the people pleaser and the nice girl. So on the surface, I was very much keeping it together and, getting promotions and smiling. But on the inside, I was like screaming. And actually, the person I spoke to about it was like the universe. I actually was like one day walking home from work and I just remember being like, oh my gosh, like, I need guidance, I need support. And that's actually, funnily enough, like where the grace came into my life. And I started encountering all of the mentors, the synchronicity, the miracles, the aha moments that led me to discover my purpose.
Oh, okay. Explain this to us. Like, 'cause I am pretty sure that a lot of people would rather ask some kind of highest force than anybody that they know what's going on. So would you like to tell us a little bit more about this moment where you asked for help and guidance? What happened exactly?
Yeah, so it was just like this feeling that there must be more, and I was ready to like be shown what that was. I was willing, like A Course in Miracles says, we don't need to know the how, but a little willingness is all it takes to change our life. And it was from that moment that certain things happened that gave me the answers. Like, for example, I won a scholarship to go study in Italy. And I remember being in Cinque Terre one night looking up at the stars and I was connecting again to that feeling of magic that I had as a kid. And I was like, oh, okay, this feeling of being in my heart and my passion and my sparkle and my aliveness, this is like what we're meant to follow. I also, when I was back in Sydney, saw this flyer, like a poster for a philosophy class. And I just had this feeling like I have to go to this. And I went to this philosophy school for 6 years actually. And that's where I kind of cracked open to meditation and my soul and the universe, and really found like that inner sense of joy and bliss. And then in my philosophy class, I one night heard a fellow classmate, he was in his 50s, tell the story of how he created his dream life and purpose. And I felt this, again, this voice inside of me say, you've got to ask him about it in the dinner break. So I asked him about how this all happened, and he told me that one day he kind of locked himself in a room for 4 hours with these blank sheets of paper and wrote down, like, if anything was possible, what would I create, you know, for my career, my purpose, my relationships, my abundance, my fun, my pleasure, all of this, all of the things. And so I went home and did the same thing. And again, like, it was one of the first times in my life where I thought for myself, like, who am I? You know, Marianne Williamson says, like, who am I really and why am I here? These two questions have the power to work miracles. Yeah. And so for me, writing on those sheets, I realized for my career, even though I was a lawyer, that, like, if anything was possible, I would be doing something involving philosophy, helping people, freedom and travel, and writing. And from that, it kind of led me to discover life coaching, which is where I met you.
Oh, I love this. And this is so magical. And I like that you said, you know, you really followed your intuition at that point, and that voice inside of you that told you, go to this class, ask this person. I'm just curious, what kind of, like, because you said that you learned about the universe and everything else while you were doing this class. How were you as a lawyer before everything, before that moment in which you asked for guidance to the universe?
Yeah, I mean, I was very much just going through the motions. So I didn't have, I mean, there's big chunks of my life where I barely even remember it because I was so, like, in waking sleep. Like, I was so unable to connect to the present moment or feel safe in my body or, you know, tap into my soul or my heart. I was just in, like, this autopilot mode going through the motions. So I honestly barely remember it, but I do remember, like, despite my best efforts to create a life that I loved, like, I was still a high achiever. I would always write these goals lists, and by the end of the year I would have actually achieved all these goals, but the problem was they were goals that had nothing to do with my soul. So, like, I should have felt fulfilled, but I felt even more empty. That, like, I went to trivia and I learned sewing and I had a fashion blog and I learned Hoga photography and I'd done all the things, but I still didn't feel satisfied because it wasn't in alignment.
Makes sense. Okay, so once you figure out what kind of career you wanted to go, like when you said, like, you wanted to write and help people, and I guess you did that for all the other areas of your life. So what happened next?
So I think this is, like, where a lot of people struggle. Is I had the vision, right? I had this, like, oh, if anything was possible, this is, like, my ideal self, my dreams, my destiny, my values, but, like, I'm here in this life that looks nothing like it. And I had to trust the process of every day kind of tuning in. What's the baby step? What's the small aligned action I can take today? And I found that it was a very collaborative process with the cosmos, or whatever you believe in. I found that I would do my part and do my best. And then the universe would bring me like all of these synchronicities that would help me. So for example, I I Googled, female writers and entrepreneurs, and I found this website called woman.com.au, and they had a volunteer position for a social media manager and a journalist. So I took that up one night a week while I was working as a lawyer, and that it turned out I didn't want to be a journalist or a social media manager, but that gave me actually the tools to run my social media today. I went to a Halloween party dressed as a Ninja Turtle, and I met a life coach. And again, that was like, oh, so this is actually a career. I I I had like read Pam Grout's book on manifesting called E Squared, and she says like ask the universe for like a cosmic wink or a sign that is just for you.
Mm-hmm.
And so after my lawyer job, I would often go to a local coffee shop in Darling Harbour and like work on my business plans, like, oh, maybe I could create online courses or be a coach or be an author. And one day I'd asked the universe for this like little synchronicity or sign that was just for me. And it had to come within a 48-hour period. And it was like hour 46. I was about to go to my philosophy class. So like the clock was ticking, but I was still in like surrender and faith. And as I sat down at the coffee shop to like map out I think it was maybe my first online course, Duncan Bannatyne, who is like a famous multimillionaire entrepreneur from this show called Dragon's Den, who lives in Scotland, came and sat down next to me in this tiny little cafe in Sydney. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's like giving me goosebumps. And so like there was a lot of like tuning into soul, taking messy action, but so much synchronicity and guidance along the way that like I just had this feeling that it will work out eventually. And I also had this feeling that the effort is the victory. Like I was finally feeling alive and inspired and passionate, even going on the journey to discover my dream life. So like I was already winning, right?
Mm-hmm. I love what you just said. I love it. And I think it's so, this is very critical because as you said, this is the most difficult part because, okay, now you kind of have an idea what kind of career you would be good at or you would love to do. And how do you do that? What happens next? How do you make that happen? And you ask for synchronicity. So I kind of want to talk a little bit more about this because even personally, as a person that has been studying self-development for over 10 years, it was a little bit difficult to get into that point where you actually understand, believe, trust, and because like you didn't ask for a specific message from the universe. You just decided that was enough for you to know that that was a message for you. And I think it's because you talked about the feeling and this excitement, which I think it's exactly what happens when you are in alignment, and it doesn't matter how things come to you, but it's how you feel that makes you want to do more, and you get more inspired, and you suddenly have an idea of what's next, and all of those things that just keep you in motion without even realizing what the hell is going on. But you just know this is what you need to do, this is the person you need to call, let me go to this event, and things like this. Would you like to talk to us a little bit more about this moment, and how did you keep yourself inspired and active? Because going to work as a lawyer, I guess that was quite high pace, intense, and a complete different space from being into a positive mood, inspired. So how did you keep the balance and the trust that everything was going to be okay?
Yeah, this is such a brilliant question because I think like if I was not to explain this, I would be remiss. I did a lot of kind of inner work on getting into alignment with my purpose, my vision, my dreams. Like because obviously we all have a lot of fear and doubt and limiting beliefs. So I almost every day while I was a lawyer was opening my journaling.
Mm.
I get paid to be me. I do my passion work. I travel the world. You know, I have an amazing business and life that I love. I was like programming my mind and my emotions to be in the belief, to be in the vibration, because I feel like when you get into alignment with the end result that you want, that's when it's like, I've heard this quote, I think it's from Neville Goddard. God moves and you move, like God moves through you and around you when you're in alignment with the end result, what you want to create. So for me, because I did have a lot of like doubt and fear, doing that inner mindset work, affirmations, visualizing my dreams, doing whatever it took to kind of make the vision. It's like I got to a point where I was living it in my heart and I could feel it and taste it and sense it. So I was living it vibrationally. I was embodying being a life coach while I was a lawyer. I still actually, like, just say I joined like a yoga studio and the intake form asked what's your career. I was, as a lawyer, writing life coach, and at parties I was starting to say I'm a life coach because I just needed to like get my mindset on board with the future outcome. So that was really important. And the other part of it was I cultivated that trust and that relationship with source energy, my intuition, higher self, whatever you think of, like that kind of creative, abundant intelligence of the world. Like I've meditated like almost for 8 years now. I meditate in the morning, and I always kind of I say the Course in Miracles prayer. What would you have me do? Where would you have me go? What would you have me say, and to whom? And I also sometimes I ask, give me like a little cosmic wink today, just to remind me that like we're like co-creating.
Right track, yeah.
Yeah, and so I find when I ask for a cosmic wink, like later that day, I might like see dolphins at the beach when I haven't seen them there before. Or one day I was journaling about how I want to be like Carrie Bradshaw from Sex and the City and like be a writer in New York City. And then like I went for my morning beach walk, and my neighbor had like left out the whole Sex and the City DVD collection, like for anyone to take. And I didn't personally want it because I don't have a television, but I was like, oh, that's my like cosmic wink of the day. So yeah, I do want to kind of let people know who are interested in going on their own journey to like crack open more to their purpose and dreams and their ideal self. Like I did a lot of inner work. It didn't like just suddenly happen. I had to kind of cultivate it.
And thank you for saying this, because I feel like, yes, we all talk about how we went from here to there. But yes, I think inner work is so important because, as you said, we have limiting beliefs a lot. We have fears, and we really need to be disciplined in wanting to get out of that and do something for our future every day, even if it's a little thing like writing a couple of things. Like you said, I am a coach, I am having paying clients, or whatever it is that you want to do and be, it doesn't matter, but it's like that little effort every single day that will take you probably 10 minutes a day when you wake up before you go to work, that you can do. And that gets into that mode of wanting to actually be there. And as you said earlier, once you're willing to take the step, and once you're willing to trust, then at that point the universe, God, or whatever it is that you believe in, will start to help you out.
Yeah, exactly.
I just want to go back to, you talked about you being in fear and being afraid of how to actually make this happen. So would you talk to us a little bit of what kind of fears were going on with you at that point?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Like almost all of them. Like I had a lot of, whether you call it shadow or limiting beliefs or childhood trauma, like there was the belief, who am I to do this? Like I thought that the women who were either entrepreneurs or getting paid to be a writer or, you know, coaching people. I thought they were like some sort of unicorn, and like who am I to belong at that table? Like there was a lot of kind of imposter syndrome, unworthiness that I had to work through. You know, then there's just the fear of doing something outside your comfort zone, right? So like the fear of having my first coaching call, the fear of running my first group program, the fear of like trusting when my intuition would say like post this article or say this, you know, in your video training, like constantly stepping into the unknown. I think that like you have to kind of cultivate your personal power in a way to be able to like lead yourself through those fears and doubts. I don't think they ever completely go away, but you do learn how to be in a different relationship with them where they're there, but you're listening to the voice of your truth, and you know how to kind of I call it like, it's like Abraham Hicks says, using your emotional guidance system to know that like if the thought feels bad, it's not true. So if it feels bad for me to think, oh, I'm not good enough, or who am I to do this, that feels terrible. So my inner being doesn't agree with that. So that's how I can know, okay, that's not ultimately true. What else is possible? What if it works? What if I am good enough? You know, we can always use the what if question in a negative sense or in a positive sense. And you just have to like build the muscle of kind of creating, I call it a miracle mindset, like an empowered perspective, and developing that sense of doubling down on yourself, having your own back, believing in yourself. So yeah, I think that like it's definitely a skill that you can develop.
Yeah, absolutely. And you are so right. I think that we get, as you said, like at the beginning, you think that what you thinking and what you feeling is what it is, and so you don't want to move because, as you said, maybe you don't think you're good enough or you will ever become like the people that you admire or whatever. And then as you go through and you learn to manage yourself, you still have that fear, because unfortunately fears and limiting beliefs don't really go away forever, but they just change and transform because you learn how to see them and work through that. I think what happened is that once you start to have that fear, then you start to become curious about, okay, why are you there? What are you trying to tell me right now? And then because you have learned how to manage your fear, you know, okay, now you are not real, or maybe, all right, you're telling me this, so then I need to work on this other bit of myself that I haven't touched because I didn't have to. So I think it changes the relationship with our emotions, fears, and it becomes a guidance anyway, as opposite to before, that it was just something that will overpower us.
Absolutely. Like I think that one of the most unexpected and profound things about following your purpose and kind of creating, you know, your passion work or your destiny or your dreams is who you become in the process. Like it completely forces you to like look at all of your fears and kind of you become a different person. It's
Yeah,
like the be do have principle, where to like do different things and have a different life, you actually have to be a different person. And so you kind of have to forge or cultivate or rise up into the next level version of you. And it, you know, it actually really helps to have support in that sense. That's why I love coaching, and I am a coach, and I have coaches, and I'm part of masterminds, is because you don't have to do it alone. You can actually have people help you, you know, hold that space for you and your vision while you're kind of going through the doubt and the fear and the messy action and the getting into vibrational alignment and believing in your dreams.
absolutely. Yeah. And you said one really important thing: you don't have to do it alone. And if you don't think you have the right crew around you, like your friends don't understand you, don't support you, your family doesn't understand you, doesn't support you, there are tons of people out there, and we are in an era where internet and social media are so important right now, and you can just find someone that resonates with you, where you feel understood and you feel like you can actually talk about certain things. So you are so right. And once you get into that space, then all of a sudden you start to create the right people around you, people that will support you, understand you, and help you to move forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Because, there's that very cliched saying that you are like the combination of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And I don't know if that's true or not, but I do know that, like, when I have doubt or fear come up, or I'm uncertain of the how or whatever it is in relation to creating the next level of my purpose and vision, being able to turn to people who have like a high quality of thinking and are going to like be supportive and like mirrors for me and help me kind of get a new perspective on it and move through it and see it differently, and get back into alignment and find my intuition's point of view on it again. Like, I think that is just so amazing. It's so invaluable. Doesn't mean you can't do it without that. Like, I do understand, like, I don't think that like everyone in my law firm necessarily thought that I was like doing the right thing, quitting a 6-figure law job to become a life coach. And I don't even think some of my family really understands what I do. So it's like, it's you gotta, make do with what you have. But when you're in a position to kind of call in your soul people or hire a coach, then it can be very supportive.
Yes, and thank you for touching upon that. My mom doesn't even know what I'm doing. She's like, asked me like, are you doing your job? I'm like, yeah, I'm doing my job. She doesn't really understand it. Like, until I was studying, it was okay. And then when I started to say, okay, I am going to leave my job, and there was a massive panic around that, because obviously she comes from a different mindset. And in those years, I kind of like, some friends kind of left naturally, not because we push each other away. It's just because you start to distance yourself from people that don't resonate with you anymore. But at the same time, because you are rising up and you're changing, you're transforming, then you start to meet people that are on your same kind of like energy level. And because it's not about bad or good people, it's just that at some point you just don't know what to talk about anymore, and you want to feel supported, as opposite to maybe ask too many questions on why you cannot do that, why you shouldn't be doing that. There are like a lot of people project fear on you that is not your fear, so you start to feel that, and you start not to want to be around certain people. It's just I feel it's a natural transformation. It's like a snake that changes skin. Like, that's what you do in the process of changing skin. Then you start to remove what doesn't serve you, and that goes from the inside with beliefs and fear and things that you thought were true about yourself, and that goes around also for the exterior and what's around you.
I love that. It's, you resonate with different people, and you resonate with different kind of topics and worldviews and values and things like that. And I think there's like a lot of people who maybe are not necessarily like brought up in an environment of open-mindedness or follow your purpose or believe in yourself, but have that feeling that like I had, and you probably had, that is like, I think there must be more to life than what I've been told, like the good on paper, white picket fence life. I feel like I came with like a secondary purpose. Like, I feel like we are here to be fully ourselves, right? And just fully be as authentic and expressed as we can, and follow our heart's desires. But I also think that a lot of us have this feeling like, no, I was meant to do something else. Like, I also have a mission or a contribution, a gift to give, a song to sing that only we can. And like, when you start to get that feeling like, oh, I want to kind of access whatever is inside of me and bring it out to serve the world. Like being around other people who maybe get that or can guide you through that, or just kind of understand that same feeling of there must be more, can be very powerful.
Oh yeah, and yes, you touched upon the perfect subject, because the wanting to be more, the feeling that you can serve a bigger purpose, you can serve a bigger audience. It's what I guess your clients will talk to you about. My clients talk to me about. That is the thing. Like, why did you decide to have a call with me? Because I have this feeling, and it's like, I think you told me about that. It was what I always felt, even in my 20s, when I had a good job in advertising back in Italy. But there was this feeling of not like, yes, being in the right place, but not being in the right place. Because it was like, yes, this is a job that I like, but there is something missing. And it's not really understanding what is it. Like, is it the people? Is it the environment? Is it me? And then there you go. I'm not good enough. I shouldn't be in this position. They gave me this project. I can't do it. And the reality is that is not where you're supposed to be, but you can't figure that out because you come from a mindset and beliefs that stop you from really going within and asking yourself that kind of question, especially when you're young. Like in my 20s, I had no idea. I was trying, as you said, you do what you're told. Go get a good job, find a partner, create a family, and there you go, you got it. And I was like, nah, that's not what I want. But I think also, if you have an idea that is different from your circle of family and friends, it's very difficult to say, no guys, I'm not like you, I want different. And at the same time, like, awareness might not be something that is already there, and you need to go through your own journey and see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like finding that alignment, or that, like, I love that you're the intuition queen, because for me, learning, I would never have, in like previous years, called myself an intuitive person at all. And learning how to actually tap into my intuition, which is like that wiser guidance beyond what you've been told you should be doing for your life, and trusting that when you follow that feeling, even if it doesn't make sense or it breaks the norm, that like you're going to be so much more fulfilled and like self-expressed, and kind of that is such a key part of it. Because like, who do you listen to? Is it, there's that famous quote, like, we can listen to the noise of the world or the noise of our soul, but like, you have to learn how to hear your soul.
That's right. And I feel like for me was I always listen to my intuition, especially when deciding big things. But I think that, and I don't know if the fact that my mom was also intuitive, although intuitive for certain things and for others, very, very logical, because she's a Capricorn and she comes from a mindset that is like a little bit limited because of her history. But like, I always kind of be encouraged to go with what I thought was right, because we would have this conversation with my mom. And me, naturally, I always gone for the good feeling. And I know a few times I've had to explain myself to my friends, especially if it was about a position, like a better paid position, to a position that like I had a good feeling about. Maybe, the people I interview with, what I saw, and how they talk to me about the environment. And my friends were like, well, why? Like, they pay you more, it's a bigger company, it's a better name. I was like, it doesn't feel right, I want to go here. And like, but no. And I had to say, no guys, like, it was like not difficult for me because I always done that, but I can see how you kind of struggle to say, no, this is right for me, without having to explain why. But you tend to have this struggles with people that understand you and know you, because not necessarily they understand what it means to make a decision based on your soul and your intuition, because everybody goes on logic and money and the typical thing that you should be doing if you want to move up and you want to sustain yourself and all that.
Yeah, and yeah, you're so right, because intuition is, it's not that logic isn't helpful. Like, I bring in logic to structure my courses and to plan things, but it's like intuition, I can't almost explain it to other people, in the sense of, I use intuition a lot in my day-to-day business and even how I run my life. And so, you know, if I am writing an email newsletter, I write like a weekly-ish newsletter to my audience, I'll be like, what should I write about? And I'll just like feel into it, and I'll get like like I call it a divine download. It's like the words just like fall into my head, and I'll just like write what I feel called to write. And then people will tell me, oh, I needed to hear that today. That was divine timing. And it's like, I can't tell you logically why that was the topic of the day, or why, like, you know, I was led to create a podcast instead of a YouTube, or why I launched my manifesting course before my self-love course. It's like, I just tune in, and it's like, I just feel that that's where the alignment is at. And I don't have logical reasons, because it didn't come from my brain.
Yeah, exactly that. But as we said, it's a process. You have to get to a point where hey, this is, what shall I write? And then but it's absolutely, it's a step by step. You get to that point once you learn how to align yourself and trust yourself, and then everything comes so easy. And when you do, you're like, oh my God, I just asked for this. You start to get surprised, because you're actually receiving what you've been asking for way quicker than it used to be, just because you become in alignment. Okay. So now I want to talk to about so you've been doing all those things, and you start to create, and how did you get to study coaching, and what happened next? What was the process from that moment, you leaving job and becoming a coach?
Yeah, so when I kind of discovered, okay, I want this like different career that has writing and freedom and helping people, and I didn't quite know yet, it wasn't crystal clear that it's going to be life coaching and look exactly like this, I decided messy action is better than no action. Mm-hmm. So I started a blog, just like for the passion of it. And I started blogging about like philosophical topics, and I started getting published on like the Huffington Post or Mike Dooley's blog. And then that meant that I kind of accidentally created an audience. And then that led to kind of me creating my first online course. And then after that, I feel when you're in the flow, you just like discover the things you're meant to discover. So I was taking this messy action, and I stumbled across Beautiful You Coaching Academy. And it was like, it blew my mind, because I was like, oh, you can make an official business out of this like kind of hodgepodge thing that I'm kind of doing and loving, but like don't know what the hell I'm doing. And so I emailed them, and they were full for that round, but then someone dropped out, and I got in. This was in February 2015. And yeah, so it was a lot of like building the business as the side hustle from my lawyer job. And I would like to say that like it was perfect, and I like, had it all like thriving and successful, but it wasn't like that. Like I had built it up to a certain extent. Like I had paying clients, and I was figuring stuff out, and through messy action and mindset work, I was eventually growing confidence, and I was getting better at what I do, and like I was kind of getting there. But I just went to work in my lawyer job one Friday, and I sat at my desk. It was really early. I liked to get to work really early, so I was the only one there kind of with my coffee. And I heard this voice say like, it's time to quit today. Whoa. And I was like, oh, and I knew that I had to. So when my boss arrived, I actually got really lucky, because even though law industry as a whole maybe didn't understand what I was doing, quitting law to be a life coach. My boss was very hipster. I don't know if you have that word, but like he bought me books on Taoism and philosophy. He was very supportive. He bought me the Jonathan Living Seagull books on manifestation for Christmas gifts. He's like a legend. And so I walked into his office and he's like, oh, don't say it, because he had a feeling too. Mm-hmm. And I was like, yeah, I'm handing in my resignation. And I guess everyone's got to do it in a way that works for them. But for me, it was like I had to take that leap, and then that kind of forced me to grow even more and really like stop thinking of it as like, oh, I'm just like a girl playing business, and properly think of myself as like a businesswoman and creating this business that can really serve people and sustain me. So yeah, that was the moment where I kind of changed careers.
Whoa, I love that. And yes, and you're right. Everybody has, and this is important, I think, because we hear so many stories, and this was also true for me when, you know, I used to listen to Gabby Bernstein and all the big ones where they tell you their story. And I know that a lot of people say, you know, don't leave your job until you can make enough money with the side hustle. And that wasn't the case for me. I had to go, because I had the same voice that you had, which was so strong that I tried to shush. And I'm like, no, wait, my plan is to leave after like a few months in, because, you know, I need to save more money. And I just had to go. I just had to go. So I think everybody has their own journey. And if you can do that, that's perfect. But otherwise, just listen and trust. And you can always adjust yourself as you go. And it's some people become super successful straight away. Some people take a little bit of time, but you have your own process and your own journey to go through, as long as you listen and you trust that voice that tells you now, or do this, as it happened to you. It's just amazing that you sat down at the desk and you knew.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like, yeah, that's one of the key things, is like not expecting your journey to look like anyone else's. You know, everyone's journey is going to be different in length and different in design. And just like, I have become more successful and like happy and more of service to my people, my kind of dream clients, the more I actually tune out of what everyone else, like I used to always be like, how's everyone else doing it, because I didn't trust myself. And the more I tune in, I'm still willing to obviously like do courses and learn things where I need that additional knowledge, but in a general sense, the more I trust doing things my way, in a way that feels good and aligned for me. Feels good, it might be scary, doesn't mean it's not terrifying, but feels good and aligned and true and right for me. That's when I find that my business flows and flows and flows with much more ease and abundance and grace.
Yeah, I love that. And thank you for saying that, because that's so true. So now you are a mindset and manifestation coach. Tell us about it. What does that mean? How do you help your clients?
Yeah, it still gives me goosebumps saying that, because I'm like, I used to journal this and now it's like actually a real thing. So I work with women who, they're usually quite ambitious or spiritual, like high achievers, but they want to create their dream life and business. And the way they want to do it is through alignment, manifestation, you know, balancing feminine and masculine energy, like, so a more kind of ease and alignment and intuitive and flow-based way of doing it, rather than just relying on kind of the masculine, logical hustle principles. I'm not saying there's not room for that, but it's sexy hustle, aligned hustle, doing things first, getting into alignment, you know, doing our mindset work, working through our fears, like to the best of our ability, embodying the women that we want to be. And from there, taking that messy action and manifesting and co-creating with the universe to create, like, you know, a beautiful, purposeful, abundant, magical life.
I love that. I absolutely love that. So, what are the things that your clients are struggling with the most?
Yeah, so the nature of, because my principles of mindset, alignment, and manifestation can kind of be applied to anything, a lot of the women come to me when they're just ready to break through to their next level.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's usually things like either breaking through to the next level in their business, whether it's their income or their impact or their confidence or their alignment, ease and flow, or it's like, the next level in terms of the quality of men and dating that they attract, tapping more into their worthiness and feminine energy, manifesting, I'm very good at manifesting luxury travel and apartments. And yeah, it's like doing the inner work and the outer work, the outer work of leading yourself and moving towards what you want, and the inner work of aligning with the woman you want to be, to really create business, relationships, worthiness and confidence, travel, the life and business that like they want to live.
Oh, I love it. I have goosebumps because like the woman you want to be, like, women, listen.
Yeah.
Listen, align with the woman you want to be, because you can become that person. You can, like, it doesn't matter your current circumstances. It's just a matter of doing the inner work, as we've been saying, and then you can get to become that woman. So whatever circumstances, like, ask for help. Listen to people that you're attracted to, watch videos, read books, but get to that point where you are in that state of mind that you feel like in that space, and ask for help.
I
Okay.
love that, because I'll just add one more thing. Like,
Yes.
you said something so important. It's like, I do think that learning is not just like book knowledge. Like, it's
Mm.
like, obviously I teach a lot of online courses, and I have a practical spirit. So I teach principles and tools and homework and worksheets. But I honestly think so much of transformation is just being around someone who thinks at a different level, who vibrates in a different way, who like has owned or like access the codes around authenticity or sovereignty or doing your purpose work or money mindset. When you're around people who've kind of transformed that for themselves,
Yeah.
you just calibrate to their vibe, you calibrate to their way of being, and then you start to operate in a different way of being. And honestly, like, who you're being matters so much more than the like 5-step webinar process or whatever.
That's right.
That's just like the icing on the cake to like being the person who has the reality you want. And you can kind of pick that up from being around people who inspire you or make you feel a certain energy. Like, really tune in who around you, whether it's mentors, it can be secret mentors online you've never met that you just
Oh yeah.
follow, like books. Like,
To me, when I moved here, I didn't know many people, so I didn't have, like, it took me time to build new group of friends, because I had just moved here and I didn't know anybody. But my friend gave me The Secret to read, or she actually told me buy The Secret. So I did. I started to read The Secret, and what I was doing after work was just going on YouTube and watch all of the videos of those people that I actually resonated so much with, because I realized how listening to what they were saying will make me feel better. And I would just, and then, you listen to one, they suggest someone else. You read a book, they suggest another book. So I will just go, and I didn't have at the beginning many friends or people that would be helpful in that kind of way. So I didn't know who to turn on to. But I was always aligned. So as you said, that's great. If you feel you don't have the right community around you, just watch, read, stay in that feeling by yourself, and then you will create. All of a sudden, one person starts to pop up, and then another person, and you start to talk about, oh my God, I read the book. And you start that conversation, and that's a person that you can always talk about that particular subject, and will give you feedback, and will help you grow. And then from that person, another person, and then that's how you create your community.
I love that. I love that didn't get into manifesting via The Secret, but like I love that that was the book for you that kind of nourished your soul. I honestly wonder like if we all already know all of this at a soul level and we're just reminding each other. It's like when you hear people speak, it's not even that you're learning it, it's like your soul is remembering that, and you're like that part of you is coming online again. It's really crazy.
I think it does. Like, I know that, like, I always been like, I always loved reading. And I remember my first job, I was the switchboard in a big advertising agency in Italy. And I was always reading because I had two phones, but sometimes it was very quiet, and then I would get the phone calls all of a sudden and then quiet. So I will bring my books. So one of my colleagues was like, "Oh, you like reading so much. You have to read this book. It's so amazing. You would love it." And that was The Alchemist of Coelho. And that changed the perception of how life is. Like, for me, the universe kind of things, because I come from a Catholic country, so it's like, yeah, not religion. No, you guys keep it. I don't like all this limiting belief around. They weren't for me. So understanding this universe thing, I was like, this resonates with me. I like that. So from now on, I'm gonna talk about the universe. It doesn't feel right for me to talk about God, not that kind, like how I've grew up with. And this thing, what really stuck with me was, you want to go from A to Z. It's not going to be a straight line. You're going to have to go through a journey and obstacles, because once you get to Z, and you have to be ready for it. Because if you follow a straight line, you will get to Z quicker, but you're not going to be ready, and your dream is going to go. And like, to me, reading that book made so much sense. I'm like, oh my God. And it changed the way I approach my life in such a big way. And I think that is what led me to then be attracted to a book like The Secret, because I remember my friend telling me, this book reminds me of you. I'm like, really? And then I started reading, I'm like, oh, this is a thing? Like, I always been grateful for things, but I didn't know there is an effect on your mind and how that plays up positively on your mind. So I think we kind of have a journey that is already kind of scripted, but we don't know it. And I think it's also amazing. You just have to get into that door that opens up a lot of different opportunities for you.
I love that. I love your story about The Alchemist.
Yeah. All right. Elyse, oh my God, it's been an hour. I would talk to you forever. Would you like to tell us if we want to get in touch with you and just check you out, where we can find you?
Yes, you can go to my website, ElyseSantilli.com, or my Instagram and Facebook, which is also Elyse Santilli. And I have a podcast called Wake Up and Manifest.
Ooh, we love that. Wake up and manifest. I like that. Before we go, I'd love for you to give us a tip for the women listening to the podcast. What is that one thing that you would say to them?
Yeah, I would say trust that feeling that you're meant to live like a beautiful, magical, purposeful life, and tap into your treasure and your gifts and your destiny. And then know that it's a co-creation. So as you get into alignment with that, the universe will flow to you and through you. You'll be led to take those messy action steps, but the universe will also bring you the mentors, the book falling off the shelf, the synchronicity, the miracles, the miracles that will support you in creating that.
Yay! I love that. Oh my God, this has been such a great conversation, Elyse. Thank you so much for being on my podcast today.
It's been such a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Oh my God, Hutch, I love this conversation. It was so great to talk to Elyse, and I hope you loved it and you took something out of what she said, and you're more inspired. to take action, to take inspire action, as she said, or messy action, as she actually called it. Please share, subscribe, and make any comment to this episode, and leave us some stars. If you want to get in touch with me, you can always go to theintuitionqueen.com, or you can find me on all the social media as The Intuition Queen. And we talked about this feeling of wanting to be more, wanting to do more, and knowing that you have a bigger purpose. If this is what's going on with you, and it's just like a thought and it's still not pushing you to do something, just think about it. Like, we are all here for a bigger reason, for a bigger purpose. We are all here to help someone else and to do something that really makes us feel good and fulfilled. So just listen to the inner voice. That is your call. That is your soul, your intuition telling you, you deserve to be happier. You deserve to be more. And if you want to get in touch with me, you can just go to my website. I have a free call that if you have that nudge or that feeling that you can be more, then just give me a call and book a call with me. You can either do it, I will put the links below in the show notes. You can either book a time, or you can just email me and we can sort that out. I also have a few programs that you can sign up for. Just go to my website, theintuitionqueen.com, and you can find anything there. I do card reading if you want to also just have quick understanding on where to go, what to do, or what's your energy at the moment, and what kind of energy you need to have to make that shift. And also I have a free guide that it's called 7 ways to feel more confident in your career, and it's just like a little bit of fun with some exercises and questions that can help you to tune into your intuition if you still don't feel like there is something there. All right, thank you so much for watching and for listening, and I'll see you for the next see you and talk to you in the next episode. Ciao.
Your future's at the door.